Doy ahora la palabra.
I now give the floor to His Excellency Ramadan Abdallah Mohammed Gok, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in the revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity of South Sudan.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, distinguished delegate, ladies and gentlemen, at the onset, allow me to extend warm greetings and congratulations on behalf of His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, to Your Excellency Philemon Yang on your election as the President of 79th Session of United Nations General Assembly. His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, would have loved to be here, but could not due to competing demands back home. Republic of South Sudan stand ready to support you during your tenure as at the helm of the General Assembly. Allow me also to warmly bid farewell to His Excellency Ambassador Dennis, who was the President of the 78th Session of the General Assembly of United Nations, for his stellar work in service of the ideals of the UN Charter. We are especially grateful for his proactive leadership as illustrated by goodwill visit to the Republic of South Sudan in June this year, which he undertook in support of the ongoing efforts to consolidate peace, security, and development in our country. Mr. President, the theme of the 79th session, leaving no one behind, acting together for the advancements of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations, speak directly to the present state of global affairs. The ideals and values envisioned in the UN Charter are as important, relevant, and crucial now as they were at the founding of this noble organization on October 24, 1945. They remain essential to addressing serious global challenges from conflict, nationalism, geopolitical competition, food insecurity, climate shock, natural disasters, pandemic, and threat to the international peace and security. Mr. President, distinguished delegate, the revitalized government of national unity in the Republic of South Sudan, as repeatedly stated by the President of the Republic of South Sudan, His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, is fully committed to consolidating peace in our country. The implementation of the revitalized peace agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan is primary vehicle for ensuring peace and stability in our country. Thus far, we have made tangible progress in our quest for durable peace and political stability in the country, but we have been constrained by resource challenges to fully meet key benchmarks of the agreement. Nonetheless, all the signatories to the peace accord remain steadfast in consolidating the gains made so far in the form of relative stability and joining hands to complete the rest of the outstanding elements. This unity of purpose was illustrated in the recent endorsement by the Cabinet, the Revitalized Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, the RJMEC, and the Revitalized National Legislature of 24 month extension of the transitional period, paving the way for the organization of free and fair general election that will be conducted in the Republic of South Sudan by the end of December 2026. The decision to postpone the elections, as previously scheduled for, was justified by the fact that essential security sector mechanisms and election-related institutions require more time to fulfill their mandate. Mobilization of funds to complete these important tasks that are critical to the conduct of free, fair, and credible election in the Republic of South Sudan also demands more time. Most importantly, the process of constitution making covers a series of activities and require an adequate time frame for effective consultation with all stakeholders to ensure that a broadly accepted constitution is adopted in South Sudan. We therefore call on the United Nations and the broader international community to join us in ensuring that this new roadmap for peaceful transition in South Sudan is met by availing the required financial and technical support for the process. Furthermore, I am pleased to report that the revitalized government is currently engaged in robust and promising negotiation with the All-Out Group through the Tumaini Initiative under the auspices of the government of the Republic of Kenya to address all grievances and guarantee the return of those opposition leaders to the Republic of South Sudan. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, over the last year, the conflict in Sudan is the country neighboring to South Sudan, has created one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. As stated by the United Nations and other United Nations agencies, as an immediate neighbor, we have been impacted by this conflict with about over 800,000 refugees and returnees crossing our borders on a daily basis, coming to South Sudan, fleeing from the war and settling in South Sudan. While we profoundly appreciate the efforts of the United Nations and humanitarian agencies working to elevate the suffering of the victims of this conflict, we strongly encourage support for the IGAD Peace Initiative to bring about peace to Sudan. Furthermore, we also believe that the international community's support for the victim of the war remain inadequate and unresponsive to the impact on the host communities that are also grappling with serious humanitarian challenges. Therefore, we are calling on the international community to expand their support and closely engage with the government of the Republic of South Sudan to mitigate and navigate impact of war on all victims. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, it's worth mentioning that the conflict in the Republic of Sudan has also directly impacted the economic situation in the Republic of South Sudan, with oil production significantly reduced since April this year, given the fact that our economy is entirely reliant on revenues that we collect from the sale of oil that pass through Port Sudan. We urge the international community to double its efforts toward resolving the conflict in Sudan. We further call for more solidarity with South Sudan as it is struggled to overcome and withstand the dire economic impact created by the conflict in neighboring Sudan. Mr. President, in the last 70 years, 500 million people in Africa also have been affected by the impact of the climate change. As a result, South Sudan battled and suffered from devastating impact of the flood and the drought. Millions of people have been displaced and many lives have been lost due to the flood and the drought. Therefore, there is a need to scale up adaptation action and support to ensure an adequate response in context of the climate crisis. Moreover, we strongly urge developed countries to exercise greater leadership by expanding their financial contribution to the required global mitigation and adaptation interventions, as trillions of dollars are needed annually to tackle the crisis, restore trust in multilateral system. Mr. President, South Sudan recently conducted its first voluntary national review on the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and the recommendation emerging from the findings are informing our immediate interventions. Moreover, our revised national development strategy and annual budget are crafted around a commitment to the SDGs. Furthermore, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning and the National Bureau of Statistics, with support from the UN agencies and our development partners, are working to strengthen the capacity of the national statistical system to collect quality and analyze timely and reliable data. The government is actively mobilizing resources to conduct the national population and housing census, thus ensuring evidence-based planning and delivering of essential services to the people. As South Sudan capacitates its statistical system and bolsters its analytical capabilities, the government is using the multidimensional poverty index measuring to guide related policies, designing multi-faceted intervention to improve the life of the disadvantaged group and track progress. Mr. President, in recognition of the role of the women in public life in South Sudan, I am delighted to report to the Assembly that South Sudan is making great strides and improvement in gender equality. The government of South Sudan believes that the active engagement of women in governance and decision-making is crucial and critical to ensuring that implementation of commitment contained in the peace agreement that was signed in 2018 and the Mobutu Protocol, the Action National Plan on the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 and the SDGs 2030 Agenda and African Union Agenda of 2036. UNCSR 1325 is practically powerful advocacy tool for equal representation in national governance. As a reflection of our commitment to gender equality, South Sudan Transitional Constitution enshrined 35%, which is affirmative action provision for women in all structures of our government. The peace agreement also mandated the establishment of Women Enterprise Fund to support our women, which shall serve as a vehicle for availing resources that can leverage the entrepreneurial and innovative energies of our dynamic female population. We strongly believe that all these initiatives align with the theme of leaving no one behind. Mr. President, distinguished delegate, South Sudan is a young country in terms of its population, with young people constituting over 70% of the population of our country. This demographic reality can be harnessed for a better future through proactive and progressive investment in the youth. The Republic of South Sudan aims to develop a robust education policy that is focused on unlocking this potential through job creation and innovation, and benchmark under the provision enshrined in the African Youth Charter and United Nations Resolution on Youth-Related Empowerment. The Ministry of Youth and Sport in the Republic of South Sudan and our National Assembly are jointly working on legislation for the National Youth Service and Youth Enterprise Development Fund that will enhance the capacity of our youth. Once these two documents are adopted, these two laws shall create the necessary condition for the empowerment of our youth. Therefore, we call on the United Nations and international community to augment our efforts to enhance the level of technical and financial support to the government in the spirit of government agenda and better future envisioned by the Pact for the Future agreed to at the recently concluded Summit of the Future here in New York. Mr. President, South Sudan Universal Health Coverage Service Index is among the lowest in the region and globally. This is attributed to conflict, economic crisis in the country, and consequence of climate change, resulting in a fragile health system. Maternal and infant mortality rates remain the worst in the world. As such, Government of Republic of South Sudan commit to invest in a durable, accessible, and standard strengthening health care system. We are committed to optimal health and well-being of our citizens via a primary health care approach as the most inclusive, equitable, and cost-effective path to universal health coverage. Provisions of preventive health service through national programs such as malaria, HIV/AIDS, TB, routine immunization, and maternal and child health programs, including nutritional health service, is crucial for the reduction of the economic burden of health care expenditures for households and the health care system in South Sudan. pandemic preparedness and response through a multi-sector approach, but put us on a path to tackle public health emergencies, such as responding to the current mpox pandemic and other diseases epidemics in the country. Most importantly, our commitment to address the burden of both infectious disease and rising burden of non-communicable disease as we aim at reducing mortality rate remains our top priority. Succeeding to achieve all the above will promote sustainable development goals of health target of 2030, which will enhance the strategies for Africa we want by 2063. Mr. President, as part of our commitment as a country to transforming education, and government of South Sudan recognize every child's right to quality education, as well as addressing the issues of access, equity, and inclusion. Based on this premise, the government commitment has been translated into several actions or interventions. Primarily, His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit reiterate that government policy of universal basic education for all children, regardless of their background or gender, in February 2023. This has made a considerable impact on not only in improving enrollment and retention in school, but also in combating early and forced marriages that have been compelled by many girls to drop out of schools. Consequently, we have achieved enrollment and retention of almost 3 million learners at the primary education level, almost attaining gender parity. Mr. President, as you are aware, His Excellency President Salva Kiir, President of the Republic of South Sudan, is the incumbent chairperson of East Africa Community, has consistently emphasized that need for maintenance of peace and security in the East African region. The Great Lake and the Horn of Africa is his role that is playing. The President effort aligns with the theme of this 79th session of the General Assembly and the Secretary General call in the Summit of the Future. Mr. President, one of the main impediments of South Sudan's full realization of sustainable peace and security is the fact that the Security Council continues to maintain sanctions, individually target sanctions, and the arms embargo despite our call and the call from the African Union and IGAD for this sanction to be lifted. These punitive measures have created a negative impact, restraining South Sudan's full potential by preventing the government from maintaining effective deterrence against negative non-state actors that foment violence and insecurity in our country. Furthermore, potential investors in various sectors believe that South Sudan is under broad sanction and as a result refrain from investing in our country. As a country, we have experienced relative peace and stability for the last 6 years, and continued imposition of these punitive measures is not reflective of the progress we have made so far. Mr. President, for any meaningful peace and security to prevail in the world, we urgently call for reform of the Security Council to be fit for purpose in today's global dynamic and realities. The United Nations has been an integral element in this effort, but it has to evolve in its processes and structures to more optimally address contemporary problems. It is in this context that we join the call for expansion of the UN Security Council to incorporate the voice of the African people in an equitable way that reflects the continent's weight and relevance in maintenance of global peace and order and security. Therefore, I want to hereby state that South Sudan supports the African position and equivocally that most optimal way to restructure the Security Council. The reform proposal announced recently, which grants Africa 2 permanent seats at the Security Council without veto powers, is counterproductive and falls short of the spirit of inclusive and equitable global governance that we have been calling for. This only exacerbates that current inequalities and equities and fail to achieve the elusive consensus and cooperation required at the Security Council. South Sudan therefore called for a text-based negotiation which is more viable and will lead to the Security Council with enhanced credibility and acceptance. Mr. President, in conclusion, I wish to reiterate that our appreciation for your leadership of this 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, as well as express our commitment to advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations. I thank you.
Muchísimas gracias al Ministro de Relaciones.
I thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity of South Sudan.